This is a kickoff video for a little series I'll put together focused on stand dynamics, at least as we see it occur here on these sites in the Piedmont of North Carolina. So you're currently standing in an area that was harvested. We obviously did some overstory retention, which is pretty common under our management. But it was harvested about 2 years ago, and it's just kind of been sitting here and regenerating naturally since then. And it provides a pretty good example of what we see during the kind of first stage of stand development, which we call stand initiation. So, you know, there's these stages of stand development, and I've explained those in the lecture, but just to kind of go through them again, if any of you are watching them out of order, you know, really, you know, that kind of first stage of stand development is typically stand initiation. That's when the stand kind of gets started. Then, as the trees get a little bit bigger and start to compete with each other, we start to see stem exclusion. You know, there's winners and losers, and gradually the density of the stand starts to go down as those trees get bigger and we see fewer and fewer stems. As it moves through the process, the trees that are falling out of the system are larger and larger, start creating and opening up more and more growing space, and we actually start to see the understory reinitiated. So as bigger trees fall out, you can actually see a new cohort start to develop underneath it. And then over time, as the stands continue to develop, you start to reach into kind of that final stage they call the complex stage, where, you know, it's high complexity in there. You've got multiple different cohorts developing, you've got different sizes of trees falling down, you have competition happening at many different levels. Basically, it's complex. But one thing I do want to kind of get out of the way up front is I explain it in stages because it's easier to do it that way, but in reality it's a continuum. There's no real hard lines between the different stages of stand development, and quite honestly it can be really difficult when you're standing in a stand to actually figure out what stage you think you're in, because again, it's a continuum. They just kind of move into each other. But where we're standing now, if we want to look around, we have basically the vegetation in this site is dominated by shade intolerant species, and it's a combination of both seed origin stuff like this yellow poplar and these loblolly pine trees that you see, as well as sprout origin stuff like this sweet gum, like this white oak right here, like that sweet gum right behind you, and some of the larger red maples that you can see around, that were stems prior to harvest, that during the harvest process we either released them or severed them off at the base or crushed them or did whatever, and they sprouted back vigorously. So we have kind of a mixed pool of regeneration in here of both seed origin, sprout origin stuff. And currently there's plenty of growing space out here. These aren't really competing with each other a whole lot yet, but they'll get there. But as it sits right now, things have plenty of space, plenty of available resources. We're actually probably, if you look down, there's plenty of down wood on the ground. We're probably seeing a little flush of growth from the acid effect. But anyway, this is a pretty good example of a stand that's currently in the stand initiation stage. So with that, I'll shut off and make some videos of the later stages of stand development.